Hello, welcome again to Varsity Sports Live. South Dakota and North Dakota high school football highlights tonight. Tom Neiman along with Jason and Dara. I think that haircut looks good, but
Tom, there's nowhere else I'd rather be, though. Let's not talk about the haircut.
Where are we at in the season?
We are set up for 11B and all 9-man football. The playoffs seedings will be coming out here very shortly. I'm looking for them throughout the show. And 1 week left for the rest of the teams. Same thing with North Dakota. They've got games coming up on different days of the week to finish out next season, and we're here. We made it, Tom.
All right, let's get to the scoreboard in South Dakota tonight. And Roosevelt, no problem with Watertown, number one Rough Riders, 55-14. Scored from all over the place, obviously. We'll take a look at some highlights of that one coming up. Brandon Valley and Harrisburg was the matchup of the night, Jason. What happened here?
Yeah, it didn't take long for Brandon Valley to establish their dominance. Harrisburg came back with a few touchdowns, but it really never was a game.
Highlights from that one from Tate Johnson and the Lynx coming up in a little bit. Lincoln and Washington played for the second time this season because of some cancellations of their opponents, and it was a good game tonight. Lincoln 28-20 over Washington. Some highlights of that one coming up as well. O'Gorman in Aberdeen tonight, 44-12. Tegan Schlimgen continues his passing onslaught, and we'll take a look at some highlights of that one. Yankton and Brookings both win tonight. Bucks over Douglas and Brookings over Spearfish. They are both 8-0.
This Yankton game was 7-7 at halftime. Trevor Fitzgerald erupted. I think he had a hand in 7 touchdowns in the game.
Bobcats, again, will host.
Maybe 6 or 7.
6 touchdowns for Fitzgerald, yes. Bobcats will host Yankton coming up next week. Mitchell and Pierre, the Governors, still in the picture in 11AA, 48-20 tonight over Mitchell. Some highlights of that one coming up. Sturgis beat Belfouche 35-6, so Sturgis gets even at 4-4 on the season. Huron over Tri-Valley tonight. Jaden Beck with a couple of touchdowns. Max Kranzler with a score as the Tigers beat Tri-Valley 27-8. In 11A, number 1 T area 31-15 tonight. So T gets to 7-0 on the season with 1 game left.
Against Dell Rapids next week.
And look, Vermillion. What is with Vermillion?
Yeah, what's with Vermillion? Some people have said this is the best 1-5 team they've ever seen, and well, they showed up tonight, didn't they? A little bit of an upset. We've got a couple of highlights from that one too.
They dumped Dakota Valley 48-7, and then West Central 34-0 over Dell Rapids on homecoming in Dells tonight, and some highlights of that one as well. Canton and Sioux Falls Christian Jandy 1-point game.
It was a 1-point game, and Sioux Falls Christian went for the win with less than a minute left in the game. They went for a 2-point conversion, didn't convert. It just shows you how crazy 11A is this year, Tom.
Canton gets to 5-2 with that win. Bridgewater-Emory-Eaton is 8-0 in their regular season as they beat Beresford tonight 51-0. Sioux Valley, their only loss is to Bridgewater-Emory-Eaton. They get to 7-1. Cossacks 14-3 over Garrettson tonight.
A couple times this year, Sioux Valley's played down in these low-scoring games, but then they've exploded against some good teams, so I'm not sure what to make of them coming into the playoffs.
Ryan Wojcik had a huge game for St. Thomas More tonight. Did a little bit of everything. We'll have some highlights as they beat Lead-Deadwood tonight 52-0. And in 9-man, a couple of selected games. Chester over Baltic 22-12.
Yeah, both those two teams looking for really some positioning as far as their seed points go coming down the stretch. That's why we have that one up there. And Chester prevails. And then Canistota-Feeman, they got it done against a team that was trying to win their region.
Yeah, the Pride get to 7-1 as Canistota-Feeman knocks off Hanson 40-0. And PLATTE-GEDDES is 8-0 as well. Black Panthers beat Parkston tonight. Some highlights of that one coming up as well. North Dakota, Jody Norstedt's got highlights coming up. As Fargo Davies gets to 6-1. They beat Shanley tonight 42-0. Davies led that game 21-0, and Shanley made it close, but the Eagles pull it out 42-27. West Fargo Cheyenne, the EDC champions again this year as they beat South tonight 42-14. Jody's got highlights here in just a minute. Thursday night, Bismarck beat up on Jamestown 62-35, and Century also got to 6-0 on Thursday night 49-6. Bismarck and Century play each other coming up here next week. It was Mandan over Williston tonight, 34-0. Bismarck Legacy on Thursday night beat Minot 31-28. Legacy gets even at 3-3 on this season. In 2A in North Dakota, Hillsboro-Central Valley 21-6 tonight over Kindred. Hillsboro-Central Valley gets to 7-1 on this season. Valley City knocks off Central Cass 18-14.
Yeah, Valley City's Max Fair, 40 rushes, 183 yards, and 2 touchdowns. It was a close game. They got the victory.
Devils Lake over Wahpeton 27-26. Jody's got that game coming up in a moment. Thursday night as well, Bismarck St. Mary's, number 1 team in 2A. They are 7-0 now after that win 46-6 over Hazen. Langdon-Edmore-Munich, the number 1 Cardinals, 45-6 tonight over Grafton. That is 34 straight wins for Langdon area. Jody's got highlights of that game in just a minute. Velva finishes up at 8-0 in the regular season. The Aggies 60-0. Their win tonight over Kenmare, Bowbells, Burke Central, the Honkers. It was rugby over Botno. Bishop Ryan over Garrison Max tonight. Oaks, the Tornadoes, go to 6-1, 46-0 win tonight. There's rugby. The Panthers get by Botno 41-8. Killdeer is 7-2 after a 56-18 win over Richardson Taylor Hebron. And 9-man in North Dakota tonight. Grant County Flasher, another good win as the Storm get by Linton-HMB. Jody's got highlights of that game, 28-26 final. North Prairie over St. John tonight. North Prairie is 7-2. Lemoore Litchfield Marion, they did not get that game against South Border in tonight, so Wyndmere Lidgerwood, the Warbirds, a win over Hankinson this evening, and Beach over Mott Regent 14-8 in North Dakota tonight. And Jody Norstead is standing by in West Fargo with a little peek back at some of the big games last night and the games as well tonight as we wind down the regular season for a lot of teams in North Dakota. Hi, Jody.
Hey, how you doing, guys? This is fun. This is crunch time, right, for the end of the regular season.
Fantastic. A little snow flying down here this morning, and some maybe coming to North Dakota tomorrow. So it's time to get some of these games in at the end of the year.
Yeah, should be fun. Red River North on Midco SN tomorrow afternoon. But let's talk about the games tonight. A big couple of games, the last 2 nights really. And kind of weird because no spectators allowed in the stadium in Fargo or West Fargo schools. Bismarck will be down to 50 fans max for the foreseeable future. So a lot of changes as the COVID numbers continue to rise. Anyway, last night sorted out a lot of the WDA playoff race. We'll get to Bismarck and Century for the WDA title on Wednesday night right here on Midco Sports Network. So that's sweet. Highlights of their wins from last night are coming up. You'll want to hear why Bismarck head coach Mark Gibson is a little disgruntled despite his team's 6-0 record. Plus, a big couple of nights in 2A. St. Mary's trying to lock up the 1 seed. Hillsboro, Central Valley, and Kindred tonight playing a big game. Highlights of those: Lead-Deadwood-Munich hosting Grafton. Grant County Flasher trying to win the toughest region in 9-man, hosting Linton-HMB. But we start in the EDC. Sheyenne with the chance to clinch the 1 seed with a win tonight, while Shanley and Davies squared off with plenty on the line. A win for Davies and the Eagles lock up the 2 seed. A win for Shanley could give them an outside shot at a home playoff game. We'll get to that one in a bit, but let's start at South. Pretty simple scenario for Sheyenne tonight. A win against South, and the second-ranked Mustangs are EDC champs for the 3rd consecutive season. Mustangs also looking to beat the Bruins for a 6th straight year. The rushing offense was pretty good for the Mustangs. Junior Matt Tribe into the end zone from 19 yards. Great burst through the hole for a 7-0 lead. Next drive, they show what they can do through the air. Grant Workentine to his 6'8 receiver, Jaheim Leak. The matchup nightmare catches his 3rd touchdown of the season. Bruins trying to claw back through the air, but Peyton Kessel, well, he's going to run out of time. He ran out of time a lot in the first half. Cole Menz and Abe Hestong combined for the sack. Called them the Bash Brothers. They spent a lot of time back there in the first half. Cheyenne gets the ball again and scores. South bottled up EDC leading rusher Brika Pennu in the first half, but it's the other guys that hurt him. Gage Anderson on the jet sweep. It's 21-0 when South gets on the board, facing a 4th and 8. Kessel improvising. He tells Enoch Sibamana, cut up. 42 yards. The Bison commit makes it 21-7. Final game for both those guys who have been great players for that program. After a stop on defense, South looking for more, but Theron Parson and Cole Menz sandwich Kessel here. This would force the senior QB to leave the game with an apparent concussion, a disappointing end to Kessel's career. Sheyenne gets the ball back, and with just under a minute left in the half, Workentine to Alex Goodiron, wide open, and watch the big tight end rumble to the end zone for the 45-yard score. Mustangs head into halftime with a 28-7 lead, and Sheyenne three-peats as EDC champs with a 42-14 win. They lock up the number 1 seed in the East with an emphatic victory. Out west, this was the game on our air last night. Top-ranked Bismarck Century dismantled Dickinson to win its 18th game in a row. After having to hold on for the first 3 weeks, the Patriots are really starting to beat the snot out of the competition. The O-line, led by K-State commit Andrew Langdon, tenacious. They were running the ball, they were throwing the ball. This big completion to Brock Johnson from Noah Schaffner sets up another score. Schaffner on the sneak. It was touchdown after touchdown after touchdown for this Patriots squad. Cade Garcia, he had a couple of touchdowns on the night. Dickinson just did not have an answer for the ground game for the Patriots. But they do try something here, and it goes into the hands of Johnson, who is a playmaker on offense, playmaker on defense. A good interception return here for the Century Patriots senior. And this Century team, guys, is starting to roll. They have only given up 6 points over their last 3 games. Peyton Hart finds the end zone. He found the end zone twice in this one, and the Patriots roll. Garcia, just look at the offensive line, the push that they're able to get. They beat up on Dickinson, 49-6. Schaffner, 5 of 5 through the air, 73 yards. Garcia, 86 yards on the ground, and the Patriots roll to 5-0, setting up a big matchup against Bismarck High for the WDA title. So could third-ranked Bismarck keep pace with the Patriots for first place? Demons taking on Jamestown in their sweet National Guard threads. Blue Jays back at Ernie Gates Field for homecoming night. Gunnar Swanson finished the game at QB last week after Caden Fisher got injured. Swanson, who's played most of the year at receiver, starting under center in this one, finds Logan Schaubert for the touchdown. Swanson giving that offense a different dimension. He's played QB in the past, so he's familiar there. First play of the second time. Munson, top passer in the WDA. Looking for Jacob Hilgam and 30-yard score. The lead is cut to 13-7. Demons look like they have the answer. Isaiah Hoos through a gaping hole. Should be another touchdown, right? Check out the speed from Hilgam, though. He pokes the ball free right at the goal line. Hoos celebrated him about a yard too early, and it cost him. Officials rule it a touchback later in the second. Now a 28-14 Bismarck lead, and while there's a way to illustrate an angry demon running, this is probably it. Hoos waits until he's 5 yards into the end zone this time, until he points to the sky. Take a look. It's a 71-yard touchdown. The lead is pushed to 20. Second half action now, down 27. Munson tries to make something happen. He scrambles his way to the 1-yard line. He scores on a sneak one play later. Then this is another sneak later in the third quarter by Munson, and that trims the lead to 13, but Munson had to leave the game with an injury. To the fourth we go. Demons handing it to their bruising fullback, Brant Kringley. I love this guy's face mask, man. That scares me just looking at that. 61 yards to the house. Bismarck's offense rolls up 470 rushing yards, nearly 650 total yards in the 62-35 win. Hoos becomes the first 3A rusher to get over 1,000 yards on the year. He goes for 240 and 3. Swanson might be the guy going forward at QB. He passed for a pair of scores, rushed for another. Munson and Hilgam with big nights for the Blue Jays, but the night belonged to Bismarck and the guys up front like Caleb Doctor playing a big part in that run game.
Well, it's nice having everyone return from last year, and we all bonded over the summer, and we got a lot better, and it's also nice to have Isaiah Hoos running behind us.
Oh, we got the best offensive line in the state. They're just awesome. They go out there and they create huge holes for all of us. We had some new guys out there thrown in on defense and offense, so just to have them get experience, learn a few things, it's awesome.
So could third-ranked Bismarck, Minot playing for its playoff lives. Legacy in desperate need of a win too. Sabres coming off that overtime win against Mandan a week ago, going for it on 4th and 7. Caden Turnbow and Ashton Hillman combined for the Magi sack. Ensuing drive, Minot drives, Minot scores. Chase Burke, the senior, sidesteps the linebacker, darts into the end zone for his third rushing touchdown of the season. 7-0 visitors. Legacy answers in the second. Lyric Hoffman in for 6. This game was back and forth to the bitter end. Keep watching these highlights as Clay Phelan's going to roll out, find his receiver. That's Berman for the touchdown. Legacy just keeps on going back and forth. That was right before the half and tied things up. And then Minot comes right back. Chase Burke, you think he's down? Think again. Burke into the end zone, and Minot goes back in front. Boy, this one was crazy, and two teams desperate to try to make the playoffs. Phelan playing Houdini in the pocket, trying to keep this thing alive. Gets it to Nick Kupfer, his favorite target. Kupfer, the future UND Fighting Hawk, gets it down inside the 5-yard line, and that's where Lyric Hoffman takes over. Hoffman meandering his way behind a lead blocker. And then it comes down to just needing a stop on defense as Legacy takes the lead. Caleb Ring off the reverse, gonna air it out, and it's picked off by guess who? Kupfer with the interception, and that seals the deal. Legacy wins it 31-28 to improve to 2-3 in EDC play. I actually think that was their third win in conference play, but a big victory for the Sabres nonetheless. They've won 3 in a row, are now in good shape to make the postseason. Hoffman finishes with 99 yards. Trio scores, feeling with a big night as well. Over to 2A last night. Hazen dressing just 21 players with 24 other players out due to injuries or COVID-related stuff. Not a good recipe when you're playing the top-ranked team. Matthew Nathy looks like a sure touchdown for St. Mary's, but it's another teachable moment, guys. Dawson Bruner swats it out of his hands at the 1. It's the second time on tonight's show. Fortunately for the Saints, Dave Nordberg pounced on it for the TD. Later in the second, Saints running hard, but the Bison pop it loose again. Michael Holland recovers it for Hazen this time. Bison failed to get points, though. Let's try this again for St. Mary's. Jackson Richter, hold on to that ball. He's in there. This one wasn't close. St. Mary's cruises to the 46-6 win. Colin Curl, 86 yards, pair of scores. The Saints rush for 410 as a team. They've now outscored their opponents by a combined 275-27. The 2-3 team squaring off in Hillsboro. 6-1 Burrows taking on 4-0 Kindred. Big playoff implications for this one. Who wants the 1 seed in the East? Sam Preston says, we do. Delivering a bomb to Nathan Rage, 47-yard touchdown. The home team's in front, 7-0. Kindred trying to answer. Max McQuillan, nice looking quarterback back there for the Kindred Vikings. Throws down in the middle of the field. Matt Pearson finds a spot in the open field, 20 yards, and he's in. 7-6 still for Hillsboro Central Valley. We stay that way into the third. More Burrows. Preston again looking deep. And again, Rage. Oh, what a catch. 19-yard score. And it's 14-6 Burrows in front. Then early in the fourth, they salt this one away. First and goal. Hand it out to the big man, Caden Paston. Good luck trying to tackle him. Hillsboro Central Valley wins 21-6. Looking like the Burrows will be the 1 seed in the East, the defending state champs. Starting to roll a little bit at 7-1. Devils Lake and Wahpeton squaring off tonight. Winner most likely ends up with a playoff spot. The Huskies honoring one of the best to put on a Wahpeton uniform. 2010 grad Ryan Smith, who won a 3 national titles with the Bison, played some CFL ball. We'll hear from him in zone coverage. As for the game, Devils Lake scores first. Caleb Schneider to Zach Lang on the screen. You're not going to catch him. 7-zip. Firebirds in the second at the goal line. Colton Schneider takes a handoff, punches another TD in there for Devils Lake, and the Firebirds all fired up, leading 14-zip. But the Huskies come right back. Blake Schaefer has time in the pocket and airs it out to Des Munizero, who makes the catch, drags the defender into the end zone. And like that, it's 14-8. Next drive, though, Schneider hands it out to the other Schneider, Colton, who finds the edge. And boy, that's a violent-looking run. 45 yards on the score. Devils Lake up 21-8. But Wahpeton keeps on fighting back. They fought back all night. Schaefer rolls out, slings it deep to Munizero again, who reaches over the goal line again. Huskies score just before the half. It's 21-14 at the break. This one comes down to the wire. A 27-26 victory for the Firebirds that should help them get a postseason spot, especially with Central Cass falling to Valley City tonight. Game of the night in Class A. 5th-ranked Grafton trying to knock off #1 Lead-Deadwood-Munich in that 33-game win streak. Not a good start for the home team. They fumble the snap. Cardinals' Cooper Zimmer falls on it, setting Langdon up with great field position. You don't want to do that to a team that's rolling like they are. Just a few plays later, Simon Ronfo rolls out, hits sophomore Marcus Kingsit in the end zone. Cardinals lead 6-0 after the failed conversion. After Grafton's second drive stalls out, well, Josh Kavarchka's team goes right back to work. Marching down the field with runs like this from Carter Tatro. Oof. Taking a few hits, but he'll keep on ticking. Then once inside the 5, Ronfo, well, just find a receiver. There are plenty of them that get open. Cooper Zimmer gets across the plane. The touchdown stands. Cardinals lead at 14-0. Another quick turnover sets Langdon up once again, and this time it was Simon Ronfo going deep to twin brother Grant. Over the middle, big gainer here, and on the very next play, if it works once, it'll probably work twice. Ronfo to Ronfo, Simon to Grant in the end zone. It's like a broken record up there in Langdon. Up 20-0 after 1, make it 34 wins in a row for the Birds. They win 45-6 tonight to lock up the top seed in the region. Final week of the regular season in 9-man 2. What a showdown in Region 4. Grant County Flasher, fresh off the upset at number 1 Kidder County, facing 4th-ranked Linton-HMB. And John Bogert, low center of gravity here, stays on his feet, keeps it going 27 yards. He's going to go to the house, makes it 14-6 Storm. Grant County Flasher, with a win, locks up the number 1 seed. With a loss, they might slip down to number 4. Trey Jacob comes back from 12 yards out. He's been putting his team on his back. It's 14-12 Storm. Linton responds. Look at this dart from Lucas Schumacher, back in the fold after missing the last 3 games. Hits Landon Bosch for the touchdown, capping a 97-yard drive. Linton up 20-14 at the half. Then Jace Freeze connecting with Bogert. That's a 12-yard score. Storm storming back on top. They're up 22-20. Linton-HMB punches right back. Schumacher to Joseph, 40. Just gets across the goal line. Look at the fans. They love it. 26-22. Linton-HMB back in front. 2-minute drill time for the Storm, and Freeze caps it off with a 5-yard touchdown plunge into the end zone. 28-26. The Storm are fired up. Last chance, though, for Linton. Here comes the pass from Schumacher, or not from Schumacher. He was probably looking at Schumacher. He switches out to wide receiver sometimes, and there it is. Knocked away, incomplete. Grant County Flasher holds on, and the Storm are dancing. They lock up the number 1 seed in that crazy Region 4 that's absolutely loaded. 28-26. Let's hear from the winning Storm.
Jace is our leader, and I think that whole crew knew that we were going to go down and march down and score. We had enough time. We had 3 timeouts. We put a lot of work into that in practice and our no-huddle and those type of situations, and Jace delivered. I loved the way our second half, where we were really tackling well and flying around to the ball. That group right there, I love those guys. They were relentless tonight. They deserved it. They work hard, good kids, region champs.
All right, let's go back to that big one between Davies and Shanley. The 25th Street Showdown. Last year, Davies ended Shanley's playoff chances with a game-clinching drive in the final minutes, led by QB Reed Hartness. Again, no fans for this one. Davies trying to lock up that 2 seed with a win. First drive featured a lot of rushing, capped off by Reed Hartness on the sneak on 4th down, making it 7-0 for Coach Wayne Wehrmeyer's team. Scoring slowed down until just under 4 minutes left in the second. Hartness handles the high snap, gets it to Austin Harmson, who slips a tackle. 14-0 Davies. On the ensuing possession, Shanley looking to bring it back to a 1-score game, but Cooper Mattern completes the pass to Carter Kochman, and then it's loose. Oliver Luck scoops it up and brings it all the way down to the 3. 2 plays later, Truman Wehrmeyer punches it in, makes it 21-0. Davies looks like they might run away with it, but here comes Shanley to open up this second half. Mattern to Carson Dean for an 11-yard score, makes it 21-7. Davies has it on the 3 now, and it's Harmson again, just barely getting into the end zone for the answer. So it's 28-7. Everything's comfortable, right? Not against Shanley's offense. Mattern gets it out quick to John Gores, and he jets all the way to the end zone for a 68-yard touchdown. This Shanley team is loaded with speedy playmakers. No lead is safe. It's 28-14. Then Shanley gets a stop, and then on 4th and 10, Shanley's lined up for a field goal. They have the best kicker in the state, Emmett Kenny, but he's going to throw it? Are you kidding me? John Gores gets under it. Might have hit the turf, but doesn't matter. It's called complete. Very next play, Mattern to Kochman to make it 28-21. Beginning of the 4th. It's a 7-point game, and then Colton Malmy gets the handoff, makes a couple defenders miss, and Davies just kept running the ball so darn well. He gets into the end zone from 21 out, makes it 35-21. Then with a minute left, Truman Wehrmeyer puts it out of reach as he carries a couple of Deacons into the end zone for the touchdown. The Bison commit with a big sealer there. Shanley gets another touchdown at the buzzer, but Davies wins this one 42-27. They get to hoist the hardware as they win the 25th Street Showdown, and Davies locks up the number 2 seed in a home playoff game with the win.
Oh, it feels amazing. I mean, it's heavier than I thought, but it feels so good to win. We played our asses off this game. Oh, that was our O-line that whole game. They played amazing. There were huge holes.
Kids are working pretty darn hard there for that Davies team, and now the seeds are set. Cheyenne will be the 1 from the east, Davies the 2, West Fargo the 3, and Shanley the 4. The west, of course, still some things to be determined with that big matchup, Bismarck High and Bismarck Century, coming on Wednesday on Midco Sports Network. We will wrap things up from North Dakota now, and we'll get some South Dakota highlights coming your way next. Tom and Jandy just around the corner on Varsity Sports Live.
Varsity Sports Live on Midco Sports Network is presented by Avera Orthopedics, South Dakota State University, and Farmers Union Insurance.
Welcome back to Varsity Sports Live as we start to wind down the regular season in high school football in South Dakota. Let's get to the South Dakota highlights tonight. And the game of the night, Jandy, we had it on our network here. It was Harrisburg at Brandon Valley. Both teams were 5-1.
We knew that Roosevelt and Brandon Valley were the cream of the crop, but we didn't know what that gap was like. Where was Harrisburg? Because, you know, they've played pretty well this year, but could they shrink that gap a little bit? Well, we found out. There's a little gap still left.
Let's take a look. This game took a while. There was some scoring going on. Both teams 5-1 coming in, and Joe Colbeck to Peyton Carroll to get it started for Brandon Valley, and they just take off from there. Tate Johnson with a touchdown, 13-0 early, Brandon Valley.
You know, when they get ahead, it's so hard to come back on them because Colbeck can run the ball, Tate Johnson can run the ball, and they can just own the clock. And Colbeck just keeps getting better and better throughout the season.
21-0 early in the second quarter, and then Jacob Knuth and Ethan Rollinger, one of the great hookups in high school football this year, to score there. Colbeck comes back to Carroll, though, to make it 28-7. Still in the first half, Tate Johnson with a touchdown. It's 35-7. Brandon Valley in the lead, and then Knuth to Gavin Ross right before the half, so 35-14. Tigers down at the half.
This was a long game, Tom. There's a lot of scoring, a lot of passing in the second half for Harrisburg.
Third quarter here, and Colbeck just slicing through tacklers, 61 yards. Knuth comes back. There's Rollinger, great catch again by Ethan Rollinger. Still 42-20.
This kid is good. Jacob Knuth throwing off of his back foot, finds his buddy in the end zone.
About Rollinger again, but Tate Johnson had another score in there. Colbeck going back to work. Tough run as he bangs into a guy at the 7-yard line. Stays on his feet. It was 56-27 at the end of 3 quarters. Little reverse here to Jackson Hilton in the fourth. That was the only scoring in the fourth quarter after they went running clock. And Brandon Valley pours it on 63-27 tonight.
I just have to say, 408 yards rushing. I mean, that's how you get it done if you're the Brandon Valley Lynx. And I'll tell you what, they've had a lot of good players in Brandon, a lot of good quarterbacks, but nobody quite like Joe Colbeck. This kid can really run the ball. And after the game, we caught up with the Brandon Valley Lynx after their big win.
Our option game was really good tonight. Joe was really good at that, and we put it in the script pretty early, and we saw right away that they would have a hard time, or they were making that alley really large for him to run through. So, you know, we came to that quite a bit in the first half and stuff. And then, you know, he's a playmaker, and you know, to have 2 playmakers back there, I mean, it's great for us.
We knew they would key on Tate just because of how good of a runner he is. So then we thought we'd open it up a little bit. We got play action passes that are opening up the field, and we got some good wide receivers out that'll make plays, so it was by design.
So you got a kid like Joe Colbeck who's making plays back there, Tate Johnson, and the line has been so much better than people thought it would be at this point in the season. These Brandon Valley Lynx are playing really good ball right now. Pretty dangerous team.
They are fun to watch for sure. Brandon Valley gets to 6-1. They've got a game against Rapid City Stevens. Hopefully we get that one in. They've had some COVID issues in Rapid City with those teams, so we'll see. Harrisburg still finishes up with Sioux Falls O'Gorman coming up next Thursday. In Watertown tonight, a little streaming action, Jandy. Roosevelt, the #1 team, 5-0, taking on Watertown. Watertown's been able to score a lot of points this year against the Sioux Falls schools, but they're giving up more than 40 a game. And Mac Young with a run there for the Arrows to tie it up at 7 early, but then Roosevelt took off. Tyree Nave going 65 yards, and Roosevelt takes the lead.
That was the last time it was really close after Mac Young. Watertown kept their heads up, and they tried to stay in the game, but Roosevelt was so quick striking this game. You'd turn your head, and they would put up points. And here's another way they did it on defense. Tyler Feldkamp just came off of getting a long touchdown catch for 69 yards, and then he takes one to the house, and they just rolled it up from there.
Yeah, there's been a handful of games where he's done that, had a touchdown catch and a pick six. Cale Stevenson came back with a touchdown run to make it 27-14, but that was it for Watertown, and the Riders roll 55-14.
Yeah, two weeks off for Roosevelt. I mean, they weren't too rusty coming out with 55 points on this night.
All right, let's go back to Sioux Falls. Washington and Lincoln playing for the second time this year. Washington was supposed to play Rapid City Central. Lincoln was supposed to play Stevens. Those games called off. Lincoln beat Washington 41-0 the first time around, Jandy, and the Patriots get out to the lead here. Tommy Thompson to Logan Needles, who had 7 catches for 145 yards, and then Thompson to Ty Schaefer.
Yeah, they love to throw the ball, and it's great to have Logan Needles back. He really brings some balance, but then a quick strike by the Warriors. They didn't back down. Once again, they got back into the game with their biggest playmaker, Josh Piper.
Max Thompson hooks it up with Piper here.
Wow. Not quite
Derrick
Henry, but man, that's pretty cool.
All right, 14-7 game at the end of the first quarter. And then get to the second here. Tommy Thompson listed at 200 pounds. He is a load at at the quarterback as a running back. So 21-7, Lincoln in the lead.
It's great to have a goal line back like Tommy Thompson who can get in and seal off drives.
Lincoln had a 19-play drive in the first half here. Thompson again to Schaefer. Thompson was 19 of 31, 311 yards, 3 touchdowns. So it's 28-7 at halftime, but Washington comes back. Michael Johnson with a score there to make it 28-13.
Good to see him run the ball effectively a little bit. They've had a different offensive line every single game this year, talking about Washington, but like I said, they didn't back down. They kept on grinding.
4.5 minutes to go. Thompson to Piper there again to make it 28-20. Washington got the ball back, but turned it over on downs. Could not score with about 2 minutes left, and 28-20 is the final. Lincoln ran 30 more plays in this game than Washington did, and the Patriots were 13 of 21 on third down. All right, Aberdeen Central hosting O'Gorman tonight. Jace, O'Gorman at 4-3 coming in. Aberdeen Central's missed a couple of games. They were 2-3. And Tegan Schlimgen continues his onslaught offensively. Scores on the ground here to get O'Gorman out to the early lead.
And that was the first drive of the game. They really established, they got on the board with the field goal, up 10-0 quickly. This O'Gorman team has really started to play much better in the second half of the season. And then Sam Stuckel, he's had multiple touchdown games week after week after week now. A great catch in the corner.
That's been an amazing hookup all year. Stuckel with the score.
Here's another great catch.
16-0, and then this goes for 42 yards. Not a scoring play, but Stuckel again on the receiving end. And that leads to a Jacob Schwab touchdown for the Knights as they go up 23-0. Aberdeen Central came back. Sam Rolfs with a couple of touchdowns to make it 23-12, but then O'Gorman closed it out and they win at 44-12.
One other note, there's a Connor Pavelko sighting. He played some defense tonight, so he'll be working his way back in for O'Gorman here very soon.
Look at Schlimgen, though. That's 14 touchdown passes in the last 3 games for Schlimgen. And 11 AA, Mitchell and Pierre. Tucker Vilhauer on a score there to put the Colonels up early. McGuire Rasky tied it with a touchdown for Pierre to make it 7-7. And then Lincoln Keenholz, the young quarterback for Pierre, has been impressive this year. To Rasky for a touchdown.
He's a great dual threat running back. I mean, he has done just as well through the air this year as he has on the ground, and he's been really good on the ground. Here's Reagan Bolweg, the future Jackrabbit, putting one in for 7.
Keenholz, 188 yards, 3 touchdown passes. The Govs score on their first drive of the second half. Rasky with a touchdown. Pierre up 27-7. Keenholz hooked up with Rasky again, and you see the big numbers there for Rasky and Keenholz as the final is 48-20 tonight as the Governors get to 5-2, and they are still in it in 11 AA.
A little bit deceiving. Parker Phillips, you see, just 21 rushing yards, but tonight they decided to throw the ball to him. Tucker Vilhauer and Phillips hooked up for 152 yards through the air, so they're trying to get something going with that passing game in Mitchell.
Yeah, Mitchell won their first 3 games. They've lost their last 5 in a row. Now we'll see how they finish up this season as we get into the final week coming up next week. 11A, West Central and Dell Rapids.
Homecoming.
Nice little delivery of the game ball there. But who is West Central, Jandy? We don't know who these guys are. They came in at 4-3 on this season, but they've lost to some pretty good teams, Pierre and T. Derek Eisnes had a big week last week, gets in with a touchdown there for West Central, and it was all Trojans in this game tonight.
This is a team that has been on the upslope the last few weeks. They played really close against Dakota Valley a couple weeks ago, and in fact, I think they outplayed them, just made a few too many turnovers. And then last week, another big week, and then this week, this is a statement game for the Trojans that they're a team to beat in 11A.
Justin Zerpel with the touchdown there. Their young quarterback, sophomore quarterback for West Central. He had a couple of scores tonight. Here he is again. Zerpel around the end and in, and it is all West Central in this one as they knock off Del Rapids. 34-0 is the final. Just the second loss of the season for Del Rapids, but West Central, we're still not sure what we've got, but they're really playing well.
I think we're in the right direction. End of the year, you really see some of these good coaching staffs come together and lift their team up. Last year, West Central beat Del Rapids in the playoffs. This year, they're trending that direction.
And West Central at Canton next week. Another good test as Dell's plays that #1 team.
How about this surprise?
All right, let's check out Vermillion and Dakota Valley, Jandy. And yes, what is going on here? Vermillion 1-5, but again, losses to T, to Yankton, to West Central. They've lost to some good teams, but Vermillion all over it early. They go 14-7 there, and then Charlie Ward is their quarterback. Goes to Reese Profrock to put him up 21-7. And Dakota Valley came into the night as the #2 seed in the class, and Vermillion just wiped them out tonight.
Yeah, Dakota Valley looked like the rising team in this class. And again, I didn't see the full report of who played, who didn't play, but a score like this wakes you up a little bit. There's a pick 6 for Profrock, and this Vermillion team they're one of the better 1-5 teams I do remember. I can give you that. But they're the one team in this class who can wing the football. And Jack Kratz comes up with a touchdown there, and Vermillion, the first time all year, have run for 100 yards as a team. The first time this year. They are used to passing it like that, not used to getting that success on the ground.
We don't know if they've got enough games left and enough time to get back into the playoff.
They do play
picture.
Lennox next week, though.
So we will see how Vermillion finishes up as they get to 2-5 with that big win over Dakota Valley tonight. All right, St. Thomas More at home against Lead-Deadwood. St. Thomas More at 5-1. Coming into this one, only losses to Winter, but they've beaten 3 11AA teams this year. Dylan Holm with a catch there for the Gold Diggers from Lead-Deadwood, but #3 had a huge night for St. Thomas More. Ryan Wojcik with the interception there for the Cavs.
He's got such great speed-power combination, and they've really figured out the quarterback position as well. Sullivan has really established himself as the guy there for St. Thomas More.
Jed Sullivan to Trey Herbolt, and the Cavaliers on the board and starting to run away with this one. Wojcik, 35 yards around the other end to make it 14-0. And he did a little bit of everything. He had the interception earlier. He's got the touchdown run there. There's going to be a Lead-Deadwood fumble right here, and guess who gets on it?
Is it Ryan Wojcik?
There's #3. So Wojcik with a fumble recovery. He's going to score again here. He had another interception later on. Sullivan had a couple of touchdown passes in this one, and Cale Thorne with one of those catches. Tyson Durham with a touchdown reception for the Cavs, and they roll in this one in the first half, 52-0 is the final. There's Sullivan with one of his scores on the night.
I just wanted to check back in with Moore because we've kind of forgotten about him. There's so many teams in 11B that we're talking about, but this team has just that one loss, and they are really trending in the right direction heading into the playoffs.
Yeah, St. Thomas More coming into tonight was the 8th seed, right in the middle of the seedings in 11B. All right, up next in Alexandria, Hanson at 6-1 in 9AA. Canistota-Feeman 6-1 in 9A. Only loss was in triple overtime to Howard. Canistota-Feeman has got a squad here. They get up 8-0 early there. And then Tice Ortman, look at this catch.
No way.
Yeah.
That is on Sports Center, Tom.
Logan Katzer with the grab over the back of the defender. Makes it 16-0, and then Ortman doing it on defense with the pick there. That would lead to a Tice Ortman touchdown.
A lot of times we just look at numbers for who the best player in the class is, and you just can't quantify with numbers how good Tice Ortman is, how important he is to this Pride team.
So he had the interception, and then Ortman weaved his way in for another score. It's 22-0 Canistota-Feeman at halftime. Ortman will take this back for a touchdown. No, he fumbled there. He actually is human. So Ortman with the fumble there, but he had a great night despite that. Isaiah Robertson, though, will come away with a deflection here on the pass attempt to keep Hanson out of the end zone. Preserve the shutout for Canistota-Feeman as they win it 40-0.
And this was a big game for Hanson. They're in the same region as Parkston and PLATTE-GEDDES, and they really needed a win to kind of vault themselves up and give them a good spot for next week. And speaking of that, they got to see what PLATTE-GEDDES did on this night against Parkston. This is kind of worked into the shuffle of this whole region, and PLATTE-GEDDES got up early and they made things happen. That's Grayson Hanson right there, finding the end zone. One of his 3 on the night. Here, I just threw this play in because it was fun.
A little tricky right here. Hanson takes the handoff and then throws it back to Kelby Vanderwerf.
Look at the speedster.
Shifty for the big man who gets downfield. That leads to another Hanson touchdown.
Yeah, I really did think Parkston had a shot here.
PLATTE-GEDDES, though, one of 4 unbeaten teams in 9AA. 41-2 is the final here. PLATTE-GEDDES has drilled everybody except Woolsey-Wessington. That was kind of a close game for them, but they roll into the playoffs now at 8-0.
Just a real interesting region right there with PLATTE-GEDDES, Parkston, and Hanson. It's going to be interesting to see how all these seedings play out here over the next couple of minutes. We should be getting playoff seedings very, very soon here.
And the playoffs in South Dakota, 11B and 9-man, will get started next week.
Next Thursday, and the final games for everybody else next Thursday, and then Friday we move to quarters, and then the Thursday after that. Well, you can just look it up yourself. It goes to quarters, and then it goes to semifinals. Trust me. And then at the end, guess what? We play a championship, Tom.
That's after the quarters?
Yeah, after the semis.
Oh, all right.
All right, let's go to break.
All right, we'll get back to Jody Norstedt. We'll throw it around with some more post-game coverage in our zone coverage coming up.
Varsity Sports Live on Midco Sports Network is presented by Farmers Union Insurance, Avera Orthopedics, and South Dakota State University.
Welcome back to Varsity Sports Live. How do playoffs work?
I did figure it out. So we've got Thursday this week. We got Thursday the following week for everybody's quarterfinal, and then we have a Friday where everybody plays semifinals, and then we get to the Dome.
For the big schools in South Dakota, though, we don't know what the matchups are going to be until these games.
Right.
Last regular season games next Thursday.
Right.
We do know tonight Lincoln beat Washington for the second time this season. A lot closer this time than it was the first time around, but Lincoln over Washington tonight 28-20.
Yeah, and Lincoln's still got a chance to get all the way up to maybe the 4 seed, maybe even we'll see how everything plays out next week. But this was a big win for them and to hang on in the second half, and that's what we talked to Coach Jared Fredenberg about is his second half effort.
It's tough with this group because, they're up 28-7 and then they get kind of complacency and we complacency creeps in and you get to play to keep from losing instead of play to win. And so, we got the plays when we needed it at the end. We got off the field on a 4th down at the end of the game when we needed to. We got a 1st down at the end of the game, when we needed to, and they were out of timeouts and were able to eat the clock down.
Isaiah Robinson, their little running back there behind that line, ate some clock when they needed to, and they did get that stop. Washington got the ball back, forced into a 4th down where they couldn't convert, and Lincoln goes on to win it.
Got some long drives in, and Washington, trust me, has still not played their best ball of the season. They're going to try to pick it up here and see what they can do. Last year they won their quarterfinal game. We'll see if they can be playing their best by a week from now.
All right, let's go back to Jody Norstedt in West Fargo in North Dakota. First of all, Jody, you've got live games coming up almost 3 nights in a row here. You got tomorrow, Monday, and Wednesday with live football coming up in North Dakota, right?
Yeah, North and Red River possibly playing in the snow tomorrow afternoon. West Fargo in Central on Monday, and then Bismarck High, Bismarck Century on Wednesday. And let's start there. Bismarck High has been a juggernaut this season on offense. The Demons are averaging 48.5 points per game. To put that into perspective, Century, who ran the table last year, averaged 30.8 points per game. The one hitch in the giddy-up for Bismarck is They've allowed some points the last few weeks. They allowed 35 to Jamestown on Thursday night. There's no question that Mark Gibson, the head coach, wants to see his team take big strides on that side of the ball with the WDA title game against #1 Century just 5 days away.
Well, I think, one thing was, I think defensively we got a lot of work to do. And if you're going to be a championship team and you're going to win championships, you have to be good defensively. And, we got a lot of work to do on that side of the football. Disheartening thing is we spent a lot of time there. And so those are things that we got to get better down the stretch here, make some adjustments. And I think, to their credit, we didn't stop the run, didn't stop the pass. And when you get in these track meets, this is not our style of football. And so we got some work to do, and we got to get better.
And the winner of that one, of course, earns the top seed in the West. You can watch it on Midco SN on Wednesday. Well, in the East, the playoff picture has cleared up a bit. As I mentioned earlier, Sheyenne is your EDC champ for the 3rd straight year, locking up that 1 seed. Davies is the 2 seed after tonight's win over Shanley. And that Davies ground game, guys, keeps on rolling. They lost leading rusher Ethan Ency 2 games into the season. Plug in other guys like Colton Almy or tonight's stud Austin Harmson, and they're just fine. As for the game ambiance, that was weird. It was announced yesterday no fans would be allowed for games in Fargo or West Fargo due to the rise in COVID cases. Eagles head coach Wayne Wehrmeyer said it's tough, but pretty glad his team got the opportunity to play.
Anytime you win a football game and anytime you get to play a football game, it feels great. So I thank our administration and High School Activity Association for letting us come out here and play. And we need to take advantage of any opportunity we get to come out here and do something we love. I know it hurt a lot of parents to not be here, and I'm sure they were rooting like heck back in their living rooms, and it's great that you guys cover this on TV so everybody can watch.
Pretty good win for Davies tonight. Now, I wrote in my season preview blog for 9-Man that Region 4 was a gauntlet. Nobody finished perfect in region play, and those top 4 teams beat up on each other, culminating with tonight's game in number 5 Grant County Flasher, outlasting number 4 Linton-HMB 28-26. Storm senior QB Jace Freeze, he's been terrific all year. He knew the magnitude of this game. Win and you're the number 1 seed hosting a playoff game as region champ. Lose and you're the 4 seed and going on the road. Well, mission accomplished.
I knew these guys would give it everything they got. Last year, first game of the year, we did something similar. We came down first game of the year, marched it with under 2 minutes. I know we could definitely do it again. We got a heck of a team, and that was just an awesome effort by everybody.
Nice win for the Storm. Well, it was a special night in Wahpeton. Not a lot of fans got to be there, but 2010 grad Ryan Smith had his jersey retired. Smith rushed for over 2,000 yards in each of his final 2 seasons as a Husky. Led the 2009 team to the state semifinals, won 3 national titles with the Bison, played in the CFL for 3 years. Seeing his old number 22 get retired tonight, pretty priceless.
Yeah, to be born and raised in Wahpeton and to have this chance to come back to a football game and, be in the community again and be recognized, it's just a crazy deal, and would have never thought of anything of it. But, to have the coaches that I've had that have made a big impact in my career and big impact in my life here with me and next me and my wife too. That's pretty special.
What a career for him. Smith and his wife Shelby actually live in Wahpeton, where Ryan is a financial advisor. Class 2A East region is interesting now too. Hillsboro, Central Valley, Kindred look like they're the top 2 seeds. Devils Lake's in there at 2-2 now after the win against Wahpeton. Valley City at 1-2. Central Cass, Wahpeton, both with 1 win. A lot of scenarios in play next week. But when we return, we wrap things up here on Varsity Sports Live with the rundown. Might see some plays from the St. Mary's rushing attack next.
Check out the rundown, all the finals from around the Dakotas tonight, and Brandon Valley rolls at home over Harrisburg. Big night for Joe Colbeck.
Big night running the football, 400 yards for Brandon Valley.
Number 1 Roosevelt and Tyree Nave beat up on Watertown 55-14.
Not too much rust after a couple weeks off.
Lincoln hangs on to beat Washington 28-20. Another big night for Tommy Thompson and the boys as O'Gorman gets on the road, and they beat Aberdeen Central 44-12. 4 more touchdown passes tonight for Tegan Springen.
Now that's a team heading in the right direction.
Pierre knocks off Mitchell 48-20. Lincoln Keenholz, McGuire Rasky as the Govs roll there. West Central knocks off Dell Rapids 34-0.
I don't want to play them right now if I'm in 11A.
In 11B, St. Thomas More shuts out Lead-Deadwood Jed Sullivan, a couple of touchdown tosses on the night, 52-0 there. Canistota-Feeman gets to 7-1. They beat Hanson tonight. Katzer with a great grab, 40-0 there. PLATTE-GEDDES 41-2 tonight over Parkston.
Big night for Grayson Hanson.
In North Dakota, Bismarck Century on Thursday night, rolling it up on Dickinson, 49-6 for the unbeaten Century Patriots. Bismarck Legacy knocks off Minot 31-28 on Thursday night. Fargo Davies over Shanley on Friday, 42-28. Davies gets to 6-1 on the season. It was St. Mary's on Thursday, a win over Hazen, 46-6. Bismarck St. Mary's unbeaten at 7-0. Bismarck unbeaten in the big class, 6-0 as well after a win over Jamestown, 62-35.
240 yards for Hughes, by the way.
Isaac Hughes is on a roll, as is West Fargo Sheyenne, EDC champions for the third year in a row. Devils Lake knocks off Wahpeton on Friday night, 27-26. Lead-Deadwood-Munich, 34 straight wins. They get to 9-0 on the season, 45-6 over Grafton. And Grant County Flasher, 7-1 on the year in 9-man in North Dakota after a 28-26 win. We've got live football on Saturday in North Dakota, 1 o'clock, Fargo North at Grand Forks Red River.
It's going to be a fun couple weeks coming up, Tom.
All right, we'll see you next Friday on Varsity Sports Live.